Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Before we begin, it's important that we acknowledge the traditional land acknowledgement. The Cobourg Police Service respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the traditional and treaty territory of Mississauga, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Cobourg Police Service respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations have been stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and that today remain vigilant over their health and integrity for generations to come. I want to thank everybody for taking the opportunity to join me here today, specifically the crowd behind me, Chair Pepper, Your Worship, Acting Fire Chief Gene Thompson, Dave Hancock, Councillor Burchat, as well as our Town CAO Tracey Vaughan. This is an important announcement or an important message that we want to deliver to our community. The partners that you see behind us is what we will all be using to move forward from a place where some feel afraid to a place where there's greater understanding and there's greater comfort. I start again by indicating that I would quote Helen Keller in her comments that alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Yesterday, over the course of 24 hours, our members, the members of our Cobourg Police Service, investigated and managed two critical incidents here. Two significant assaults requiring hospitalization for both victims. Within 24 hours, as chief, I feel I have a responsibility to stand before our public and assure you that our team is doing everything in our power to continue to protect the safety and well-being of our community. I want to reassure everybody that we are well aware of what is happening here. We are well aware of this, and we have been taking significant action, not in response to this last two events, but well in advance of these last two events. I am so fortunate to work amongst an emergency control group with the fire in the city and the town to achieve great things. Our fire service has joined us over 6 weeks ago along with the town bylaw, and we have begun to look at this problem in a holistic way. We're ensuring that property standards are met. The staff at the town, who are the experts in property standards management, are ensuring safety for everybody in this community. Our fire services are ensuring that all residents who reside are safe from fire incidents as best we can. In fact, charges have been laid to ensure the safety of all residents. And from a policing standpoint, it is no secret that our cruisers are regularly seen here. Our members understand this is an issue and they want to be participating in the solution. We redeployed two key people in our police service at the beginning of July into the street work at the street level. They are working with those people in our community who need resources. They are actioning resources in addition to the MHART unit. For those who choose not to take the resources, we are ensuring that all bail compliance is being monitored. Where there are bail violations or probation violations, charges are being laid. Where there are warrants for arrests, arrests are being made. Where there are warrants for people from alternative communities, those warrants are being arrested, those members are being arrested, warrants executed, and those people are being transferred to their community to face the charges that await before them. Collectively, we have been making a difference in this community. As chief, I come to these events and I make these grandiose statements, but it's the men and women of our police service, it's the men and women of our fire service, it's our town employees who work tirelessly 24/7 to ensure that Cobourg remains a safe, vital community. At this time, I'll be open for any questions, and then I'll wrap it up if there are any questions afterwards with a few closing remarks.
Chief, you mentioned about how they're here regularly. Can you explain, obviously this is frustrating. We read time and time again, and I think I can say that we know that the police are doing everything they can. but the courts aren't helping in some respects, because you're getting these people that are repeat offenders, you're bringing them to the court of justice, and then they're released sometimes the same day within hours.
Right, lots to unpack there. Thanks for the question. So first and foremost, yeah, our people are here. And it is frustrating for our people. We've had these conversations before. The men and women of our service do the lion's share of work in every way, both proactive, reactive, and response-driven calls for service. I can tell you that we've had, year to date, 67 calls for service at the residence just behind me, but over 141 in this neighborhood. That's unacceptable. That's too many calls for one service, for one small area. So we are, like I said, we've addressed that over the last 6 weeks to try to make a change. Furthermore, in relation to the courts, we can do what we can do. We put our best foot forward. Our members lay the most appropriate charges where there is reasonable probability for convictions. The courts are a different entity, it's a different ministry, and although I've made some comments in the past, I think I'll reserve those today, in that I recognize that no system is perfect, but there needs to be a change when it comes to some of these incidents.
You mentioned 2 incidents, serious incidents. Can you provide any more details on those?
Sure. So we're going to do some work around protecting the victims, and that these are 2 very serious criminal investigations from our standpoint. I have Acting Inspector Bambridge, who's the major case manager on both of these, so that's the language one needs to hear to understand that these are major criminal investigations. My people have been on the ground for over 24 hours continuing this investigation. My understanding is both people have been medically cleared, which is the good news, and the investigation continues.
Are you making a difference?
You know what? Every day our people come to work. They put on this gear that I wear once in a while, and they come out in this heat, and they make a difference. I'm here to reassure the community that this is a safe place to be. We know what the issues are that are before us. We are working towards collaborative solutions. If I were to try to do this alone as a police chief, you're beating your head against a cement wall. But when I bring the partnerships from Cobourg Fire and the Town of Cobourg, again, to go back to what Helen Keller said, with this kind of team, we know we're going to get there. I'm just asking again for a bit more patience, but we are making strides for the long haul. I've often been quoted about sprints versus marathons. Right now we're in a marathon, and we're going to get there. The end is there. I can see it.
What's the final solution?
The final solution is that we just get rid of the perception that this is an unsafe community. We know this is not an unsafe community. We know that this is a situation which needs improvement. So when we see our calls reduce, when we see the members of this community who need supports getting those supports, when we see those people reaching out and taking resources and moving their lives forward, that's when we'll start seeing success. And success is going to come in small chunks.
Sorry, Don.
There was an incident on Kerr Street as well. Was that connected to one of these incidents here?
Yes, like that's why we're looping all these together. We know that a lot of these incidents are a small majority of people that have a large impact. Hence why we're here today to reaffirm that there is not a widespread issue of lack of safety or being unsafe. It is really an isolated circumstance, and we're working towards that.
Not that you can speak specifically about it, but do you have any idea on the amount of hours just in the last 24 hours that your members have put into this investigation? And these aren't, when you say serious events, and I know you can't go into detail, but these are, is it safe to say that they're related to the drug culture?
Yeah, great. Thanks for the multi-pack question again, Pete. So I'll take the first part of that. How many hours have our people been doing this in this most recent 24-hour period? My phone rang at 4:45 yesterday morning, and that team was already on the ground. And when I left to go home at 6:30 last night, that team hadn't gone home yet. 10 o'clock last night, I heard from the detectives that they were going home. They were back in the station at 6 o'clock this morning. Our special constables and our auxiliaries were in this neighborhood all day yesterday canvassing. It has impacted the shift that went home, the shift that came in, the day shift that's today, and the night shift that's going to come back in. So we've been at these 2 incidents since 4:30 day before yesterday. It's been a bit of a blur. So yeah, it's been a long haul, but that's what the nature of this job is. Can I say this is related to the drug culture? Yes.
Could I ask the acting fire chief a question? Sir, can you tell me, do you know how many calls you guys have been to at this residence, and how it's obviously a safety factor for your men and women of the service, if you can talk a little bit about that for a two-pack question to carry it on.
Yeah, so the Cobourg Fire Department, our goal is life safety, the health and safety of our crews. We've been to this residence in the last 5 years over 160 times. We were here last night, earlier this morning again for an overdose. Our paramedics work well with us side by side as well, so they've probably been here even more. So taxis on the resources is great.
Safety of the firefighters?
So our health and safety of the firefighters, not only if there's a fire involved inside, it's the needles, the paraphernalia that's left around. We don't know how many people are in there. There's lots of life safety concerns that we were trying to manage. We were just in here, I think it was 3 weeks ago, and did another inspection, made sure that the smoke alarms were working and the CO alarms were working, and we did lay a charge for the one not working. We spent numerous hours and resources on this location over the last 5 years.
Maybe the mayor, if that's okay. John, I'm sure you're aware as a member of the Police Services Board and as the mayor the issues that have been going on here. As mayor of this community, possibly as a mayor or as a member of the Police Services Board, can I get your thoughts on what you'd like to say to the community?
Thank you, Peter. Just let me, I made some points in my speaking notes, and I'll make reference to them. Today I'd like to make, on behalf of the Cobourg Council, senior staff, and I hope the good citizens of Cobourg, I'd like to make 3 critical points, if I may. First of all, as your mayor, I'm disheartened to learn from the chief of these very unfortunate reoccurring incidents that are occurring here. We call the intersection of John and James Street. I do echo the chief's comments in its fulsome review, and that we really have zero tolerance for this type of wanton behavior. Speaking to the community, and we've been speaking to them in my 2 years of this first term, and specifically the residents who live here, they want to be assured that they're living in a safe and well-being type community. And I'm here again, as the chief has already reiterated, that I want to ensure you that we're listening and we're responding. And I think if you're listening to both the chief and the fire chief, you can see the proactive actions taken to date. I also want to commend our services. That's all our services. That's town services, fire services, and our Cobourg Police Services, for all the services they do. And I want to let them know that as Town of Cobourg and Council, we stand behind their initiatives. It is our top priority to ensure that all communities in the Town of Cobourg remain well-being and safe. Without question, that is our top priority, Peter. As you know from a youngster, it's always been our top priority. And lastly, I'm proud that we're taking a multi-agency approach. And what I mean by that is that we're working with town officials. Dave Hancock, who's behind me, who's the chief building official. We have Aaron Burchat, Councillor of Protection Services. We have our CAO, Tracey, Vaughan, who is welcome to the town of Cobourg and is understanding these dynamics. As well, we have fire services and police, but more importantly, we also have partners with Northumberland County and all their agencies. As everyone should be aware, Northumberland County is the lead on what we call the Community and Wellbeing Safety Plan for all of Northumberland. And as you well are aware, I hope you're aware, Chief VandeGraaf plays a very integral part of that. He is a committee member as this implementation plan unfolds from the county. And again, it's just not Cobourg. Please remember, and I say the county, it's all of Northumberland County. So again, I understand our highest priority for me as mayor is the town of Cobourg, but but I'm here to tell all the residents we're listening, we're responding, we're being as proactive as we can with a moment's notice.
Good, thank you, Don. And Chief, can I ask you one last question? I guess last question is, where does the buck stop? In other words, you're mad, you're upset. It's clear to see it's frustrating over the days, months, even years. This is, I'm saying that as far as I understand it, this is the most well-known house or complex in this town. What are your thoughts? Like, you're mad.
Yeah. Okay, listen, let me be really clear. I want to separate from this conversation criminal activity from mental health. The two aren't synonymous. My staff, the staff within the town, the staff within the county, are willing to work with every agency to move someone from a state of mental health crisis to a state of mental health readiness. That's not a criminal issue that we're dealing with. Homelessness is not a criminal activity. Homelessness is a byproduct. Addictions is a byproduct. Criminal activity is what makes me mad. The fact that countless search warrants, countless arrests for drugs, increasing visibility of offensive weapons, now into two people of our community requiring emergent medical services, that makes me mad. And I'm not going to stand for it anymore, and we're putting all of our feet forward. This is a collaborative approach. This is not police first. This is not fire first. This is all of us walking arm in arm together for the betterment of this greater community's well-being. And if I can sum up with conclusion, I want to thank my board chair, so it's always important to thank your boss when they're here. Dean Pepper's here. These marching orders come directly from our police services board every month at our police services board meetings. When I report on the criminal activity and the non-crime activity, the board is 100% support of our vision of recognizing community well-being as being not only crime, but also well-being. So I thank the board chair for taking time out of his day and joining us today for this. And I want to just reassure the community one more time. And the best way to reassure it is I was referred to a book by His Worship. In all my spare time, he told me to read a book by Winston Churchill, or his autobiography, so I'm just starting to get through that, but I'll quote him very clearly. I never worry about action, I always worry about inaction. Nobody in this community should be worried about inaction. The team behind us is acting. Thank you very much for coming out.